This is Judge Joe Brown, and we're listening to We All Be News. News Free Dixie for the 21st century.
But I want to ask you on the record now. I want to go to because there's a couple other things I want to ask you. While I have you on the phone, but I definitely want to ask you. I'm glad you brought that up about Jesse and all that stuff because I want to read the quote I got from the article that I actually found today and get your response to that along with your official response to Jesse Jackson on the record. The article is from this thing called Before It's News, this website, and it came out I guess last week, and it said the guy's a Canadian researcher named Demogard. He got some stuff online, did a lot of research into this. He was there covering the House Select Committee on Assassinations thing back in '78. He was a watchdog for that, and also he's very well respected in his field. But he said, according to Demogard, this article, the shots that hit Dr. King were fired by Memphis police officer Frank Strauser, accompanied by spotter Earl Clark, another Memphis police officer, with U.S. Army sharpshooters or other backup shooters hidden in the cafeteria of Fire Station Number 2.
He got that from me. He's a bullshit artist.
Well, I'm going to read all to get your response to all of it. A nearby water tower and another high building. Following the shooting at the Lorraine Motel, Dr. King was taken to St. Joseph's Hospital, where, according to A.L.L, Demogard, an assassin cabal connected physician by the name of Dr. Breen Bland entered with two men in suits, ordered nurses, stop working on that nigger and let him die. The physician then spat on the victim, took a pillow and placed it on Dr. King's face, smothering him to ensure that he was dead. They pronounced him dead at 7:05 p.m. Okay, you said it's all bullshit? Okay.
They didn't need to do that. He was already dead before they got in there.
Okay.
He got his carotid artery cut by the bullet.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to live very long with it. You don't have to smother anybody. That stuff he's talking about the fire station cafeteria, all that's from me. I've been speaking about that since 1995 or so. Okay. 96 later on, and in the last 10 years that I've got around, that shot came from the fire station cafeteria. I don't know what the names of the shooters are, and I seriously doubt that it was given out by the name Memphis police officers. I do know that the invoice distribution of 5 of the 63 XM-21 rifles they made went to the FBI, and there was a big stink for the Army and Navy about why does the FBI need them. They did an inventory in April, and the FBI only had 4 of these remain. That's what they shot him with. The ballistic characteristics are consistent with one of those weapons. And it did cover the fire station cafeteria. That was my 411 put into the mix, so he didn't originate that. The House Assassinations Committee was not really a ballot exercise because they relied upon the FBI for all of their information, their analysis and conclusions, and the FBI was one of the prime actors in the whole mess. So, of course, they didn't tell on themselves.
And also, go ahead. I'm sorry, Judge. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well,
I would say also that you said about FBI, that the person who was controlling the Memphis police and fire departments used to be Jacob Hoover's number 3 man, Frank Holloman, right?
Yeah. The director of police was formerly one of his top men. That was Claude Armour. He had also been fire commissioner, and then the new fire commissioner at the time had also been one of Hoover's top dogs. Now, interesting thing enough about that, you heard of Elliot Ness, Melvin Purvis, they called him G-Man, the government man, and some all of these guys. In 1946 and 47, after World War II, interestingly enough, all of these badasses that were made special agents because they could really do killing seem to have committed suicide within a 9-month period.
Yes.
Which I find highly suspect. I think they just found out what their boss was really about, and they were old time badasses, and they were gotten rid of.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's come to light now that, for example, Marilyn Monroe didn't exactly OD.
Right.
After all this time, uh, and what it looks like is she had barbiturates inserted in her anus,
Mm-hmm.
which caused her to OD from the absorption into the gut from the reverse feeding. And I think they killed her because she fucked too many people. She was fucking Robert Kennedy, and she had fucked John F. Kennedy. And as a matter of fact, on the JFK thing, the word was is that she didn't just sing happy birthday to that party they had for him in the White House basement. She pulled his pants down. She danced, did a strip, was starred naked, and she gave him a head job and swallowed right there in front of the Washington press corps. But that was a different day. That was a man thing, so they weren't about to print.
Mm-hmm.
But been too open and notorious about it, and she was fucking people outside that little political group. And they probably felt she was a threat to tell what she may have heard. Somebody tell her in the indiscretion.
I mean, like the coroner Thomas Noguchi said as much like about there wasn't a suicide, and also he did Robert Kennedy's and I think Sharon Tate's autopsy. But Thomas Noguchi said it the same thing you said about the barbiturates or what they putting stuff in her anus, like she was actually murdered. That she's not committed suicide.
They
Yeah.
got rid of her.
This I said they were Robert Kennedy though. The shot came from behind that killed him. It didn't come from front where Sirhan was from. And why we know all this information and he's still in jail?
Yeah, well, see, here's what goes on.
Mm-hmm.
Legally, what happens is you recruit scapegoats.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they become part of the plan, even if they aren't the gunman, they technically are guilty as co-actors.
Yes.
Accessories, you see. Reddy wasn't the gunman, but he was there, but there were also approximately 3 or 4 other alternative scapegoats, not shooters.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, but that's just a clarification. I can't give you the names of the 2 people that were involved. One is the shooter and one is the spotter. And by the way, there is no feasible firing point that would involve a water tower around there. That's simply too far away to take a reliable shot.
What about the accusations of Jesse Jackson involving being a CIA operative or government agent?
I seriously doubt it.
And also they brought up Billy Cows in that article, the same article I quoted from. They brought up Billy Cows as being a police CIA operative.
That's another thing. He had skeletons.
Okay.
What I think, Kyle's is dead now, so Ben Hooks is dead now. Jesse Jackson may have some future influence on what's going on. And if you notice on the national scene, what black leadership do we have?
Yes.
None. It certainly isn't Barack Obama.
Mm-hmm.
you have Al Sharpton is the go-to person for mainstream media now, but have you ever figured out why they would want to go to Al Sharpton, who has a long track history of jumping on BS situations uh, that are more mythology than reality? Well, he gets his start, he was James Brown's lover.
Wow. You say he was James Brown's lover.
Yeah.
Well, he said he was James Brown was his mentor. You know the original meaning of mentor was, right? I know you know.
But, he took him to Soul Train and introduced him to John Cornelius and said, let him speak. So if I'm going to perform, so Cornelius let him speak and whatever it was, some gospel appeal. But, we've got too many black preachers that have too many, shall we say, strange sex habits.
Yes.
All right. So it is what it is. But, I'm looking at this thing as there is a move afoot to discredit all credible black leadership. We don't have any now that have come up through the ranks, so to speak, and have the credibility of having been involved in marches, protests, taken cases, jumped into the fray, provided leadership on the ground, put their ass on the line. We don't have that.
Yes.
So we have these nice guys, pretty boys that CNN likes to trot out, who, if you know anything, strike you as individuals who know nothing. You see. So where is our leadership? And half our leadership is either into strange sexual practices, or they have stolen something, or they're on the take, or they're getting blackmailed about some indiscretion they've been up to. And typically around the country, they use juvenile courts to keep leverage on would-be black leaders and sometimes white ones because they've got outside children.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And this juvenile court around here is notorious and flagrant in their use of extortion to control political and appointed officials.
Let me ask you this as well. I want to switch it up a little bit because there's so much stuff that's been happening in this news cycle. Your take on Colin Kaepernick not standing up for the national anthem. What are your thoughts about that? And the response from, I guess, his fellow athletes or non-response, the pros and cons of people looking at the situation. What is your take on it?
First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. It's his right. Why not?
That's good.
Who wants to protest it? It's the point. You're out there providing the circuses to keep the peasantry in line. And if he doesn't like the fact that you want to go sacrifice yourself for the good of the country, you come back home and you or your children or your relatives or acquaintances wind up, or family members wind up getting slaughtered on the street. And how did he put it? The people that kill them get paid leave.
Thanks.
And back in the 60s, nobody stood up for the national anthem. You remember the poster they used to have at the Olympics? One brother standing there with a fist with a glove on his knee,
Right.
and the other one, the other fist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recruited one of those brothers to law school.
Wow.
A friend of mine. He's dead now. He died a few years ago. He was sick.
Mm-hmm.
And I know his girlfriend, his wife of all those years, she's a judge out in L.A. He was a lawyer, and his wife, she best friends with a fiance I had 45 years ago.
Okay.
So we did those kind of protests. Now he added something to the mix. The last time he got down on one knee, which was an interesting twist, and he said that was out of respect to the people who served the country and put their behinds on the line, in a hot fire zone, and respect for them. It's just what this country has not done to ensure that all of its people are protected. Like Black Lives Matter, but the rest of the phrase should be Black Lives Matter as much as any, because in America, life matters, but some lives seem to be worth more than others. You see where we're going with that? So the Black Lives Matter is Black lives should make as much difference as anybody else's.
Mm-hmm.
So I can understand this protest, that First Amendment, that freedom of speech. I think the country, in spite of all of the cussing, hollering, and violence you hear through the media, has gotten entirely too sensitive. If somebody is offended, they're supposed to be apologized to, even if the truth was told. If somebody doesn't particularly like that, too bad, they need to get over it. The man's got the First Amendment right to protest.
You know what? I also want to bring this up too, because people a lot of times the fact that he brought attention to the missing lyrics from the Star Spangled Banner. The fact that a lot of us didn't know about that. You think about all the great black singers like Whitney Houston or Marvin Gaye who had sang that national anthem, not knowing about the missing lyrics.
Wait a minute. You were too young. They've raised all kinds of hell when Marvin Gaye sang the Star Spangled Banner. And he put some variations in there, which is the first time I've ever heard it sung like I like it.
Right.
Because nobody can sing that song. The lyrics were Key, Scott Key came up with them. I think it was November 14, 1814. He was watching one American fort be bombarded all night long. And they put it to the tune of an English drinking song that they would sing when they were in a tavern or a pub getting drunk.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, it didn't become the national anthem until 1931. The Pledge of Allegiance did not have the reference to God put into it until 1952.
Interesting.
So a whole lot of this stuff ain't ancient to the country, is relatively new 20th century stuff.
Wow, but you know about the missing lyrics though. I mean, Francis Scott Key was a slave owner.
Well, he was a lawyer. He was there to negotiate the release of an American that the British had seized.
Mm-hmm.
Was standing for the British warship. So they let it go the next morning. But he was invited on board to try and negotiate the release of a client of his. But see, I have nothing against the Star Spangled Banner. It's just nobody except an opera singer can sing the damn thing.
Well, it was like I want to talk about this third stanza that people are raising the fit because we know about what Colin Kaepernick did. He brought people said who they want to learn more about Francis Scott Key about the Star Spangled Banner, but it was a stanza that is not normally sung with the national anthem as we know it today, and it says something to the
sing the first one.
Huh?
They only sing the first one. It was printed as a long poem collection, a poem in some of the local newspapers, and it spread like wildfire amongst the new states. And then some time later, they put it to music and called it Star Spangled Banner.
Right.
And it was a long one. He started on it on the boat and then finished it up when he got back. Took him some weeks to do it. Yeah, there are some stanzas in there that might be objectionable.
Yeah, it was like one lyric or one line I'm gonna read. It said, "No refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave. And they said that hireling and slave refers to black slaves hired to fight on the side of the British during the war 1812.
Yeah, that too. The British offered to get them free. Matter of fact, they had some blacks fighting for the U.S. too, but they didn't get treated right. See, you do have to remember this. England freed its slaves in 1741 or somewhere thereabouts. And they didn't deport them, so those slaves spread into the English population. So about the time that we're talking about this, there are a whole lot of octoroons, mulattoes, quadroons running around in England because the former slaves that were free 70 years before that had interbred with the English population.
And
The English Navy was hunting down slave ships off of the coast of Africa. And shortly, the Maroons down in Jamaica, man, they were going to get themselves free, man.
wow. I also want to read this too. I mean, I'm just fascinated by this whole thing. I'm reading something about Jackie Robinson. Well, he wrote about the Star Spangled Banner in his autobiography. And I'm just going to read this. Your fellow UCLA Bruin, all-time sports great, he said something to this effect.
Story about Jackie Robinson is reported by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in his book on the 761st Armored Regiment.
Now, you told me about the, like, we refused to remove himself out the bus when he was in the military.
He was 45, and he said somebody's gonna die tonight. And
And this is back in the, he was in the South doing this, right? He was in the South when he did this, when they was still hanging black folks every day, he said, every other day.
Yeah, but you know where Jackie Robinson went to college, don't
you? Yeah, UCLA, your fellow Bruin. Yeah, UCLA.
There you go.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, the first black folk to play in the major sports all were in the same football backfield at UCLA. Don Barksdale, the Lakers hired him to play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Never played basketball, and he ran track and played football. Kenny Washington, who was the UCLA quarterback, got hired by the Rams. He come back to L.A.
Mm-hmm.
And Jackie Robinson, who played for the Dodgers, then in Brooklyn, now in L.A. And interestingly enough, guess what? Magic Johnson owns the Dodgers, and he owns the Rams now, and he has a 1/3 interest in the Lakers.
So that's about the wow.
That owns the three teams that black folk first started playing for.
Also, Willie Strode, right? This is his name, Willie Strode.
Willie Strode came in after Kenny Washington with the Rams, and then 2 years later they hired Deacon Dan Tower and Tank Younger, who were the first brothers to play in the NFL, who came out of Grambling. Deacon Dan Tower wound up being a full professor, tenured professor at Cal State, L.A. I met him. I used to date one of his secretaries.
Wow.
That was one big brother.
Yeah, I want to read this part from his autobiography and get your response about. I mean, we do got to look at Jackie Robinson differently once we know better, got all this information available. But he said something that there I was, the black grandson of a slave, the son of a black sharecropper, part of a historic occasion, a symbolic hero to my people. The air was sparkling, the sunlight was warm, the band struck up the national anthem, the flag billowed in the wind. It should have been a glorious moment for me as the stirring words of the national anthem poured from the stands. Perhaps it was, but then again, perhaps the anthem could be called the theme song for a drama called The Noble Experiment. Today, as I look back on that opening game of my first World Series, I must tell you that it was Mr. Ricky's drama, and that I was only a principal actor. As I write this 20 years later, I cannot stand and sing the anthem. I cannot salute the flag. I know that I am a black man in a white world. In 1972, in 1947, at my birth in 1919, I know that I never had it made. That's what he wrote. And he was a veteran, like you said.
Yeah, he was. He went through ROTC at UCLA. He was commissioned as an officer in the U.S. Army. They sent him to the 10th Cavalry. That's the Buffalo Soldiers. He volunteered to transfer to the 761st Armored Regiment, which was an experimental thing that Mrs. Roosevelt wanted set up. And he became captain, base morale officer. And then when he wouldn't move to the back of the bus, his regular commander, who didn't want anything done to him, took ill, and they brought in a racist from Alabama, and he demanded that Jackie Robinson be court-martialed. He got acquitted. Jackie just said, well, you know, I waived this medical excuse from a bad ankle I got playing ball. So bye-bye, I'm out of here. So yeah, I can understand that. You do what you do and look how they treat you. You know, 761st Regiment is the second highest decorated unit in U.S. Army history. First was that bunch of Japanese down in it. So, you know, just look at that. You know, and by the way, they had one of the highest casualty rates in the war.
Wow.
So they got cut off of a whole lot of medals. Wound up that Nixon awarded some to them that were, you know, posthumous or had been approved and then disapproved. And Clinton wound up giving out a bunch of them that had initially been ordered but then declined back in the day. They were the spearhead for Patton's Third Army. They got no breaks. They got no R&R, no rotation, no nothing. They were in combat longer than any other, continuously in combat longer than any other U.S. armored unit. And in World War II, because of the inferiority of our tanks, the tank corps was known as the Suicide Corps.
Yes.
So that's what he signed up for. And look how he wound up treating it. And by the way, he had a bodyguard, white boy, named Chuck O'Connor.
Right, the rifleman.
He's the one that played the rifle.
That's right.
And it started off when some pitcher deliberately tried to ping Jackie Robinson with a baseball, hit him, and Jackie Robinson had a bad jumper. But before he could go out and do something, Connor comes out the dugout and knocks the pitcher out. He got thrown out the game, but for thereafter, you know, that was his play. And when he's talking about what he wrote, he's referring to the general manager, owner of the Dodgers, who was playing that off. He wanted to pick up the black population in Harlem to go patronize those ball games. They didn't have event discrimination in New York in those days. So he wanted to make sure he got people there to save him. And they also hired Don Newcomb, who wasn't but 17, and they hired Roy Campanolo at the same time they did Jackie. Those two went to the minors, and then they brought him up, and I talked to Don Newcomb for about 2 hours, face to face, a few years ago. Brother. And he used to talk about what a horrible temper Jackie Robinson had. But Don Newcomb is the only Major League Baseball player to win all 3 of the awards that can possibly be won by a baseball pitcher. The only man in Major League history. But you see, they got some home run hitting, ass kicking, base running stalwarts, which, if you recall me telling you some years ago, is not what we got when we got Barack Obama. It's not what we got when we got Thurgood Marshall. You see, somebody that paid his damn dues, kicked ass, took names, and went back and kicked some more ass.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So we don't have any of those on the national scale. We got one internationally. I told you about it. Lewis Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
They did a 60-minute interview on him last month. You know what they called him? The best race driver of all time.
Lewis Hamilton.
Yes. A black man in Grand Prix racing. I'm not talking about any little chicken stock car stuff for NASCAR. I'm talking about, boy, drive him a $25 million Mercedes-Benz Grand Prix car where the engines that they sell to some other teams go for $18 million for the engine.
Wow.
And right now, he's 3 times world champion, and he's in the lead for the Ford World Championship. He's 2 points ahead of his teammate after having had last week they had an equipment change, and now the engines have to last for basically 1/3 of the season. You can't replace an engine, so they had to replace his. So he starts on the back row from the start and winds up third.
So basically, like the Usain Bolt race car drivers, it sound like.
Yeah, but you see, we don't have any Jackie Robinson, but he's an Englishman.
Right. Wow. Lewis Hamilton. Y'all look at him on now. I'm looking at that's impressive. I didn't know about him until you told me about it.
Yeah, and then they don't give him any play when he come Roger and he drives in the United States Grand Prix, which is probably going to be somewhere in Texas this year. You know, it's like, why don't the crack folk, get this brother some play? He makes a lot more money than LeBron. He's the highest paid athlete in the world.
I didn't know that. Wow. He got a lot of followers on Twitter. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, when Ali died, man, he gave a tribute to Ali. He was winning this race, and when they do Formula One broadcasting, they will let you hear what the drivers are saying over the radio to the pits. And brother said, hey, I feel, Ali's here. And it's like, this brother kicked ass. That's what I'm doing. Look like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
Wow.
And then did the Ali shuffle when he got out the race cars is the winner. But you see, he's got respect. He probably knows more about what's going on with black history being in England than a lot of folk here do.
Mm-hmm.
But, we got to go. Everybody wants to play basketball. But, the brothers' daddy came from Jamaica, man, he's ordinary down home, brother.
Man, it's good to know about these type of things. I learn something new every day. I'm glad, man. This is a wow, incredible.
Why don't we, you talk about February Black History.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but, we know who Pele was. He was the highest straight athlete in the world, badass Superman on a soccer field.
Right.
Everybody in the world know who Ali was. But, Americans don't know who Hamilton is. And then, the interesting thing is when he wins the German Grand Prix, 2016, and in 1936, that's when Adolf Hitler had the Nazi sponsor the Mercedes team, and they were doing that Aryan Superman shit. So here, the number one driver for Mercedes is a black man, and he wins the German Grand Prix. 80 years later.
Impressive.
See, it's just the irony. That was the year Jesse Owens did all that ass kicking in the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
But 80 years later, now you have a black man winning the German Grand Prix in a car that the Nazis sponsored. See, it's just like that's what I think is going wrong with the whole Cosby bit. That's what's going wrong with the Jesse Jackson bit. They want to get rid of black leaders. And Jesse Jackson's a straight man, and ain't nobody coming up yelling, he got me drugged out. But you take all these tired, old, wrinkled up groupies who wanted sex and drugs, and you put them out there. And what do you do when you want to get rid of a black man? If you look at American history, you're accusing them of raping a white woman.
I'm glad you brought that up because I want to get your take on the Nate Parker situation. You know, the guy who created the Nat Turner movie that's supposed to come out this October the 7th. And they brought up his old allegations of raping a white woman. And he was acquitted of the charges. What do you think about that? Like,
you know what that woman's history is. I mean, you can almost feel sorry for her. What happened with that woman's history was her daddy left her mom. She had two other siblings. The state took them away from the mom and put her in a foster home. Before she enrolled in college, she tried to kill herself twice. So, what is one of the hardest cases to defend in a trial is rape. And when you got a black man accused of raping a white woman, that is extremely difficult. He got acquitted at trial. And without him knowing it, she tried to kill herself again and wound up being successful. That's not his fault. She tried to kill herself twice before she met him. She want to badmouth the brother. He's a straight black man in Hollywood, and he came up with a great thing. You know what that movie represents, don't you?
what does it represent?
A Birth of a Nation. It's
yeah.
the first full-length feature film in American movie history. It glorified the Ku Klux Klan, and they had all of these white people in blackface playing Negroes who abused white people in the South.
Mm-hmm.
So he remade the movie and tried to put a little history in there, and the deal is Nat Turner revolts because they jacked his woman around. And all through the 19th century, even after the Civil War, they were afraid of another Negro uprising, which they had a few.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we talk about that. Okay. Yeah, okay, interview me, man. I'll be here all damn day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was there. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, I was there. That Turner thing, I would think it was interesting because when you were saying all that, I was thinking about what happened last year with the Dylan Roof situation. Like they caught him, the guy who shot the 9 people at the church.
Yeah.
And they caught him in Shelby, North Carolina. It was interesting to me because I found out last year what Shelby, North Carolina represented. That is the birthplace of Thomas Dixon, the guy who wrote A Birth of a Nation, or who book that the Klansman was based on The Birth of a Nation.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it inspired The Birth of a Nation. His book did, but he was born in Shelby, North Carolina. And it's interesting that the media did not pick up on that, or they didn't want to talk about that angle of him going to Shelby, North Carolina, maybe to pay homage to Thomas Dixon, or because Thomas Dixon was a classmate of Woodrow Wilson, who screened A Birth of a Nation at the White House.
Yeah. Woodrow Wilson is a racist.
Mm-hmm.
On his executive order, he segregated everything in Washington, D.C., it being a federal district. He was a professor in Virginia.
Yeah, so wow. Interesting.
Talking about the League of Nations, but he was trying to avoid getting the Japanese involved. He called them subhuman, like American Negroes. racist dog.
Yeah, and also the Nat Turner thing I think is interesting, like because of Nate Parker, he's been in film and TV for over a decade now, and all of a sudden now he does something about Nat Turner. There's a problem with his past. It's kind of like I did Nat Turner in the '60s with William Styron. He wrote the Confessions of Nat Turner, which was
Yeah.
based on Nat Turner's Confessions of Nat Turner from the 19th century, but he flipped it. And in his version, Nat Turner was a homosexual. So you think they really try to get back at him about the Nat Turner thing altogether, about how he portrays Nat Turner?
Yeah. Well, you see, anytime anytime you are a black man and you do that, you scare the hell out of a lot of people. You particularly scare the LGBT people because they tried to co-opt the black movement and claim they are affiliated with the same interest, which is not the case. And they become the new assuage your conscience and do something charitable group to replace black folk. So they get very weirded out when you've got a down brother because that's dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And, they don't like danger. Gun control, all kinds of other stuff. Uh, Bullies should not be fought with. The kids should be protected by the parents. Parents didn't get involved in protecting kids from bullies. The kids got together and dealt with the bullies individually or collectively.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a big sea change in the way people do stuff.
Let's say,
Yeah, that,
go ahead, so sorry, Judge.
but that's interesting. See, if you looked at the movies, they are coming up now. They're saying that movie makers need to apologize to the public for making movies like the Born series or the Mechanic series, see, or anything like that, where they have guns and violence and all of it. And then you come up with flipping the script on Birds of a Nation, that falls right up in that, oh, you ain't supposed to do that kind of thing.
Wow.
So, you know,
Who actually?
wait,
Oh, go ahead.
doing a thing on Through the Wormhole this week. You should watch
I want to check it out. The Wormhole.
it. They do science, but they're talking about radicalism. And guess what? The research by psychologists indicates that watching violent movies, playing violent video games, actually makes you less prone to violence out on the street or actual violence.
Really interesting.
Yeah. Except unless you're a psychopath. And one of the ways to correct some of these right-wing type folk is to show them stuff that's extremely violent and make them feel uncomfortable about it.
Wow. All right. Speaking of right wing, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I'm gonna like just hop off on the right wing because I want to get your take on something. But you go ahead and finish your thought.
Go what now?
You can finish your thought. I didn't even interrupt your thought. I was the one to piggyback off. On the right wing, I was interested in your take on the good Reverend Mark Burns for Donald Trump, one of his supporters, who was outed as being a phony this past weekend.
Well, when you have that thing happen in a campaign, I don't know if you can attribute that to the candidate because there's so many opportunists that flock to political campaigns to advance their own personal agendas. So Trump invites his share of weirdos. But, you know, it is what it is. And you got some crazy stuff that develops, like, for example, this stuff's coming out with Hillary again on her emails. And she was actually discussing drone strikes to take out ISIS folk on this commercial email account.
Shit.
Now, you know, you getting ready to do that James Bond shit on somebody, so you use the same server that you used to order some makeup or a pair of panties.
Ish.
See, that kind of, or it comes out now like stuff's marked C, which is confidential, not classified, not secret, not top secret, but confidential. And it comes directly from the Attorney General, well, from the Secretary of State's office. But she's the Secretary of State, and she doesn't know what it means.
Wow.
So it's what you're getting is a reflection of a pampered, upper middle class somebody is spoiled that went to an all-girls school, whose family supported Barry Goldwater, who revived the race card, who supported Tricky Dick Nixon, was chairman of the Republican Party at Wesley all-girls college. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
And boy, it's like we just loves us some Missy Clinton, don't we? Sure enough, them Clintons sure good to us.
Yeah.
It's like, come off. P. Diddy did come up with some interesting stuff like, why do we just give our votes away?
Right.
You know, if there's no choice, stay home.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're talking about the lesser of two evils. Actually, I think Hillary Clinton is extremely dangerous to the black community.
Yeah. Why you say that?
You know, slightly digressing, we always talk about solutions to black violence. We need what? More basketball, video games, and stuff to keep the kids amused? No, that's not what they need. What they need is jobs, school, and training.
Yes, sir.
But we don't get that. And under Clinton, we're not getting that because she is a bought, crooked politician who is owned by Goldman Sachs and Wall Street financial banking institutions.
Wow.
You get $16 million in speaking fees in 1 year, you've been bribed. You've been owned.
Mm-hmm.
And she isn't using that money to campaign with, by the way.
She's not.
No, that's just personal earnings.
But you know what's interesting though? I'm gonna say what's interesting is that Donald Trump is fascinating to me because he does say what a lot of people think behind closed doors, but he was really the one that got folks to focus on the Clinton Foundation. He really directed the media because he was talking about that on a consistent basis for several months about the Clinton Foundation and about the emails and about a lot of different things. And my thing is this: I think a lot of times, I mean, like you said, they don't such thing as a lesser evil. Number one, Hillary and Donald are both related; they both relatives. And then, what's interesting about the media is the fact that Donald Trump there was arrested back in 1927 for being a Klansman. Is it a New York Times? I see. Why did they bring that up? Why did they bring up the New York Times article from June of 1927? They talk about Donald Trump dead, being a Klansman in Queens, getting into a fight with the police. They actually mentioned his name in the paper.
Fred Trump.
Look at Hillary's daddy being an executive for Goldman Sachs, a minor executive.
Exactly.
You see.
Ain't never mentioned Saul Alinsky either. They always try to connect Saul Alinsky to Obama, but that was a real mentor. He was a bond guy, a mod connected union guy.
Yeah, and that's the gangster that went to jail, and the Obamas got his house for free.
You talking about Saul Alinsky?
Yeah.
Oh, you talking about it was like another guy you talking about. Not Saul Alinsky, right? Because he's been there for a while, right? Oh.
No, not the one that the gangster that got sentenced in 2008.
Oh, the other guy. Okay, I got you.
I forget his name. I may have confused him with the one you mentioned, but Obama was mentioned by name in 7 counts of the indictment against this guy, a RICO indictment, as an unindicted co-actor.
Oh, Tony Resco.
Yeah,
Tony Resco. That dude's like a mob name, Tony Resco. That sounds very mafia sounding name.
Yeah, so, in RICO prosecution, usually they try to trace every dime of crime to stop them. When they do, they snatch it, but they didn't go after the house.
Wow.
And the Obama got it. Real charge.
Man, it's a gangster town, Chicago. I mean, it's a gangster town.
To put it mildly, that is a crooked goddamn town.
But they gave us Hillary and it gave us Obama. I mean, like, there's a thing too. I look at the fact that politicians like Obama or Hillary, or people like a Truman or Roosevelt or Franklin Roosevelt, they come out of political machines. All right, the Crump machine in Memphis. I mean, you manufacture these people. They are selected before they are elected, quote unquote. Do you think it'd be better for Black people to focus on local politics and local organizing instead of national politics? Would that be more effective and more beneficial for Black people?
No, I don't think they need to limit to local politics. A lot of times on the local level, what's going on is the local politics are so locked up and controlled by tightly knit factions that Black people can't get any justice. Look here in Memphis, you got Strickland for the mayor, and only 19.1% of the registered voters are white. You see what I'm saying? You have out the Black judges you had 15 years ago. You lost the 2 Black mayors. You see, and which a setback. You lost the Board of Education, where it was a city thing, operated as they should have, and it's gone crazy. The Democratic Party has been, its charter has been revoked. Oh, where do you go with this on the local level? You see, but overall, there is some clout that can be felt in national elections. Plus, Democrats in the South tend to support Democrats in national elections, even if locally they're solidly behind Republicans. So we can't abandon the national influence that we can get, because sending in the National Guard or coming up with a federal act, even if it's improbable right now, sure as hell could help a lot more than some of the other stuff that goes on.
Well, let me ask you
on a local level.
Well, let me ask you about that. Go ahead, me, cause y'all go ahead, Judge.
The federal level out of D.C. Department of Justice talked about how screwed up juvenile court is, but we can't get the local U.S. attorney, who happens to be Black, to touch it. Because he wants to be a federal district court judge, and he doesn't want to rock the boat. And one of our Republican U.S. senators has already nominated him for the judgeship. So, nominated by a Republican who is a senator, not you know, coming from the White House, you know, that's like, yeah, you're gonna get in and you ain't gonna rock the boat to change anything about the way juvenile court has been screwing stuff around here for years. See, that's the kind of thing that's where do we go with this?
Mm-hmm. Well, man, actually, this there by Donald Trump plea to black voters. Like he talked about, why not vote for me? You have nothing to lose. Like the last 40, 50 years, a lot of these inner cities and whatnot have been controlled by Democrats, and look what has got you overall. Basically saying, get off that plantation and come join me. And then he said in 4 years he'll have 95% of the black vote. What is your take on his thoughts about, black folks just pledging allegiance to the Democratic Party and not really getting anything out of it in return?
It could be changed. The Republican Party that doesn't offer much an alternative. Like, let's take local again.
Mm-hmm.
Boss Crump had a large white minority. He never had a white majority, but putting it together with the black bloc vote, he ran politics. But do you know where the black bloc vote came from?
What?
The Lincoln Republicans. All blacks were Republicans. You go to a Lincoln Republican meeting now, it's all 100% white, and they don't even know black folks started.
Right. And then so Robert Church Jr. started that. They ran him out, and once he got, where he got, but then the Church family brought Boss Crump to Memphis. That's the interesting thing. You brought your own person, and that's your demise. Yeah.
That's why Crump had his financial backing. The richest man in Mississippi was paying his tab to make sure that nothing happened to Robert Church.
And guess what? He made it happen. And then he tried to destroy any monument to the Church family, destroyed the church auditorium, and then destroyed the mansion on Lauderdale.
Yeah, but Crump was protecting it.
He was protecting the Church family. I mean, he was protecting their property.
See, that's how he got here. Robert Church is the son of what used to be the biggest plantation owner in Mississippi before the Civil War, and the richest man in Mississippi after the Civil War.
The Robert Church Sr. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Church's daddy sent Crump up here to protect Church. That was his job. And as long as Church was protected by Crump, Church's daddy made sure Crump was funded. Yeah. Well, see, that's why Tennessee is was exempted from the enforcement provisions of the Civil Rights Voting Act. Mm-hmm. Because they'd never taken the vote from blacks. Now, unfortunately for the present circumstance, Crump, assisted by Church and then Lieutenant Lee after World War I, they set up a structure. Yeah. They set up a structure to deliver the black bloc vote. And you got the phenomenon of black power brokers who could deliver black bloc votes.
Yeah, but I was saying later on he did turn against the Church family and caused Robert Church to leave Memphis, right? Robert Church Jr.
No, he never turned against the Church family.
Crump did destroy the church auditorium, but then he destroyed their mansion on Lauderdale during a fire convention.
Yeah, but they got paid quite well for it. That was a front.
Oh, really? So the Church family was in cahoots with Crump?
Yeah. See, what I heard was supposed to happen is white folk were conspiring to get it, so he destroyed it so he'd get the insurance payout.
Interesting. I just never know about the thing. I know they had, like, Crump is an interesting guy. I mean, you had Pendergast in Kansas City, Tom Pendergast. He had Crump in Memphis, but Crump, also that lady who was running that adoptive, that child home, that children home, that she was stealing babies or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
That's Memphis Juvenile Court. 2 female judges were in there. One of them, the first one, had as her principal assistant Ben Hooks' mama handling the color unofficially. Mm-hmm. And she was selling children, and then the one after that, they were getting ready to do a favorable story on her, a movie on her and everything. And then it came out about how she was selling children to Hollywood celebrities and people around the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's how Ken Turner got in there in 1963 to smooth it out. They consolidated the Memphis juvenile court and the Shelby County one. So it's Memphis and Shelby County juvenile court. And then they put that 7th grade dropout, that bastard Turner, in there.
Mm-hmm.
What's Turner name? What Turner who?
Kenneth Turner.
Okay.
Kenneth Turner.
Mm-hmm.
And see, Turner, for the last 20-some years that he was in there, couldn't hear cases because of his educational infirmities. But he privatized it, and he was selling Negroes for profit to the penal system around here, always has been, screwing up black families on purpose. And the way he got his power and what he used juvenile court for is he used to be captain of the vice squad. He was gay. And he knew what black folk were screwing what white folk and who liked to bend over and drop his boxers to his ankles and get it that way, and what women were perverted. And some cops one time gave me some copies of some arrest tickets where they busted off in there, supposedly to back up a vice operation, and found Turner dead over a couch, getting it up the rear or giving somebody a head job when they broke off in there.
Wow.
Jesus.
So it's in the arrest tickets. So they gave me a big, thick package of these things some years ago and said they thought it might be of help.
Wow. And the lady I was looking, yeah, wow. And the woman I was referring to her name was Georgia Tan, and she operated the Tennessee Children's Home Society, an adoption agency when Boss Crump was around. But she died in September 15th, 1950. Once they was doing an investigation.
Juvenile court. She ran juvenile court before the last woman ran it.
Really? Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, this is slavery, boy. Ooh, this serious, boy.
See, they were selling shit.
Yeah.
They used to even have auctions. Sell the kid to the highest bidder.
Wow. Oh man, this is crazy. Oh man.
It's sick, man. Really sick.
And what up with these white swimmers, man, getting in trouble? I know about the rapist, the Brock guy. You know, he just got out of jail. The swimmer from his name Brockton or something like that.
Yeah, well, what happened was they vandalized a convenience store.
Oh, you talking about Ryan? That's Ryan Lock. That's Ryan Lockheed, whatever his name is.
Yeah, well, several of them vandalized this convenience store and tried to cover it by claiming they got robbed.
Mm-hmm.
See, the Brazilians impressed me with that. You know, like, no, you ain't getting away with that.
Well, how would you have handled that? How would you have handled it as a legal guy, a legal professional, and an expert? How would you handle that case with him lying like that and then leaving the country?
Well, they did it right. In other words, see, the U.S. gives like the stiffest prison sentences in the world. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
What they actually serve before getting put on parole is about a little more than the whole sentence elsewhere. See, like they give somebody 10 years on a robbery here, okay, armed robbery.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody said, well, he didn't have to serve but 3.5 years before they gave him early release on parole. Yeah. But in England, they'd give him 2 years, or in Australia, 2 years. That's the sentence, and that's what he would serve.
Mm-hmm.
You got to give him 10 because somebody's saying, I'm tough on crime, so I made the sentences stiffer.
Mm-hmm.
And then you run into the problem of, okay, fine, how you pay for this? You know, you're paying $94,000 a year for an inmate and only $4,200 a year for a high school student.
Mm. Wow. What do you think about like at the rape culture? I guess we got a rape culture definitely here in America. About the guy Brock Turner. Let's see.
Go ahead.
The Brock Turner guy, the swimmer from Stanford, the Stanford swimmer who was accused of rape. And he just got out of jail after served just a couple of months, I believe. And there's been an outcry.
Oh, that was for sexual battery.
Okay.
That's the one. Yeah.
What's your thoughts about that? Was that handled correctly?
Well, I didn't hear it, you know, and they have guidelines, and I'd have to hear what they had. I showed mercy to more than one defendant, and I've got people that come up to me now thanking them for giving them a break, but showing them the light.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what went on.
Right.
You know, they just put somebody on diversion for a homicide, but then they turned down Paula Skeen, who relied on all these black votes to get herself elected judge, turned down Henry Brooks for judicial diversion on that little picadillo.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So, Judge, I ain't gonna hold you up too long. I want to thank you so much for always taking the time to offer input. Do you have any other thoughts you want to share or anything, updates or anything?
No, it's kind of sort of like you have to think and see. One of the things that's going wrong right now with the whole system is the news media, which is known as the Fifth Estate, that's supposed to zealously report and analyze what's going on. And sometimes being entertaining by either the style of the writer and the way he writes or the way they present the news has abdicated that function and simply become a form of entertainment where it goes 24/7, and often there's little enough news to fill up 24/7. Ain't nothing going on. So what happens is they look to the entertaining factors rather than the entertainment factors rather than the informative necessities. So it gets all screwed.
Yeah, I'll ask you this too. I will get your take on this. Hillary Clinton's health. Like a lot of people online been saying that she got some type of a neurological disorder, maybe Parkinson's or something like that. And many people are claiming that this may be the reason why she may not become, why Barack Obama may have a third term. Like she'll win the election, quote unquote, on election day, and before she's sworn in, she will step down because of health reasons, and then Barack would, make his case for being president for a third term.
Can't do that. There's a constitutional amendment. If he is out one term, he can't be more than 2 consecutive terms in office. He can't be elected to more than 2 consecutive terms in office. Theoretically, what could happen is if he was vice president, the president died, he took over, he could be elected to his first term as president and then another. But after he has ceased to be president and at least one term with somebody else in office is passed, he can run again.
But he won't be running though, right? She will not have been sworn in as the next president.
Even if she didn't get sworn in, see, if she becomes disabled, the Constitution then says the person that was elected vice president becomes the president and is sworn in as president.
Okay. I mean, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, a lot of people think that this might be the coming of martial law because they're saying that why is his daughter not going to college this year? Well, what else is going on?
That's cover a lot. The truth of the matter is the oldest person elected to be president was Ronald Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
If Hillary Clinton gets it, she'll be the second oldest president to be elected in U.S. history. And if Trump gets elected at 70, he will be the oldest person in American history to be elected president.
So are you willing to say who you think might win? I mean, right now, who you think may win the election?
It's up in the air, but if things keep going the way they are, I think Trump may come out the winner.
Surprises they are.
I think that Hillary is going to have more nasty stuff revealed about her past and the way she handled some stuff as Secretary of State.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I'd rather Trump be in there.
Mm.
She's a type who trying to prove herself tough does stuff that should not be done.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, instead of trying to be a badass, look at it objectively and is this the best thing to do under the circumstances?
Yes.
I don't trust her for that.
Mm.
And I don't like her body language.
Mm-hmm.
Her body language is really bad.
Okay.
In other words, she's telling you a lie that she doesn't even believe. A lot of times when she's speaking,
Mm-hmm.
conceals a lot or attempts to conceal a lot when she speaks. This thing about her jabbing her hand with the fingers down so her fingertips hit the podium. That body language for I'm trying to build a wall around myself. I don't want what I'm saying to get expanded upon. Just take it narrowly. And also, interestingly enough, she, through her body language, expresses fear of her audiences,
Mm-hmm.
which is not good at all.
Wow. Well, Judge, I want to thank you once again for taking the time out of your schedule to talk to us. The people are very grateful. I'm very grateful. You get a lot of feedback. People really want to hear more of you. People are demanding that you be on TV again. They want to see you back on TV. A lot of other comments I get that people that I never knew the judge really thought like that. I didn't know his point of view. You know, if they look at your TV show, you only get one side of you, but they really are enjoying the information and wisdom and perspective that you have been providing on our platform. I just wanted to share that with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of sort of like, you have this formality, judges and stick in the mud, but hey, here's another side. And even when you come down to the law, though you just saw a little bit of it, I learned long ago that sometimes the best way of expressing things about humanity is to look at it like a stand-up comic.
Mm-hmm.
If you entertain the jury, they stayed awake to listen to your case and fell asleep on the other guy. And also, if you take it with a sense of humor, that makes you look at things in a certain way that enables you to perceive or take into consideration certain things that might have been missed otherwise.
Yes, sir.
Plus, when I was on the bench or even on the TV thing, these are my people, even if they're white. I'm the village chieftain. I'm supposed to look at the thing in terms of what can I do to promote and engineer the best thing for the village. I'm not supposed to look at somebody as, like they're some kind of outside enemy. It may be wrong. They may be seriously wrong. That it may have been something absolutely atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
Too many judges look at somebody coming in front of them and they look at, oh, we need to call the exterminators and stamp out these vermin.
Mm-hmm.
See, I never looked at it that way.
Yes, sir.
But, you know, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Well, Brother Jared, go ahead. I'm sorry.
There's a need for compassion and understanding. And we rely on the system to do stuff. The system may be great, but the system is not what does it. It is the people that function within the parameters that the system establishes or allows.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a dearth of national leadership, white and black, everything. I mean, you know, at my age, I have to say these are the two sorriest candidates I have ever seen running for president. Sometimes I've seen one side put up somebody as sorry as, say, a Hillary or a Trump, but not when both of them are so pathetic.
But what about the like Green Party or Libertarian Party with Jill Stein and Gary Johnson? Should we be looking at other options and taking them more seriously?
They're cranks.
Okay.
They're cranks. Unfortunately, that doesn't let it call about the lack of leadership. But then again, there is a saying about our system: we get the representation we deserve.
Mm-hmm.
So people are screwed up, so are their representatives. The representatives are continuously screwed up, and you need to look at the people to determine why that's who they put in a position to become leaders.
Yes, sir.
And you can't groom anybody for it, because that's what they try to do all the time. They'll pick some golden boy, and from college they'll try to groom him to become the governor.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work that way, because you got to shine on your own.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much, Brother Judge. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
One other thing, I'll give you an example of what I'm about to talk about.
Okay.
Ike Eisenhower got elected, and his campaign slogan was "Smiling Ike." Even today, people get the impression of Smiling Ike Eisenhower, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's known in the U.S. Army as being the commander with the foulest mouth in the history of the U.S. military.
Mm.
Now, does that fit his public image?
It does not.
Now, what's happening right now is there used to be a private, personal thing that only the friends knew about, and if they were wise, they overlooked that because they were looking for good government.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, with social media,
Mm-hmm.
they pay so much attention to stuff that used to be left for a gossip page that every time they get a would-be leader in, they go dig up some dirt for ratings, and they destroy his ability to be an effective leader.
Right. This is true.
But you see, here's the other thing too. That's only if you're straight. If you're gay and you don't get caught doing some 14-year-old boy in a public bathroom at an airport, you get a pass.
Mm-hmm.
See, if you are a gay man but you got a wife, you know, they would get on they'd get on a straight man with a straight wife for messing around. You know, they call him, you know, he ran around on that wife and looked down on him. But if you're married and you're gay, that means you cheating on your spouse with your gay partner.
Mm-hmm.
But have you ever heard them jump on that?
Mm-mm.
Never.
Mm-mm.
They'll proudly announce somebody has come out and admitted that they're so-and-so. Or they might give it scant coverage, or they might jump on the bandwagon to crucify the person that outed the individual.
Okay, I was just thinking about Anthony Weiner when you saying all this, like the ex-congressman who's like to do a lot of sexting, like sending pictures of his penis to like females and stuff like that. He's got in trouble recently, but you could tell he's very much a straight man doing something that a lot of other people do. They do that stuff, but he happened to be a public servant at one point, and who his wife is as far as connected to Hillary Clinton. What's your take on that? I mean, it kind of confirms what you're saying.
The point.
Yeah, definitely.
It's indiscreet, you know. It's sort of like, you know, the crime is not so much that you didn't; it's just that you lack the discretion to pick who to do it with.
Exactly.
And you should never use your position to coerce getting something you want.
This is true. Well, he shouldn't be in office anyway. He got poor judgment like that, right? You make poor judgment like that.
That's the point. That's the point.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what else are you likely to do that's kind of dumb?
Yes, sir.
See? It kind of works out in the mix.
It does. It seems like it does. Well, Judge Brown, I want to thank you once again for all this wisdom and information. And I'm sure a lot of folks going to be doing a lot of research and get a lot of more calls or texts and emails from people that really enjoy hearing your voice and your point of view. And hopefully we'll see you again on TV. I mean, people want to really see you back on TV again.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to make that happen. All right, brother.
All right, we love you madly, brother Judge. Take care.
Take it easy.
Yes, sir. All right.